Hi, greetings. Welcome to the live people. Thanks for being here. Welcome to all of you watching this as a video. Today's all about climate change and global warming from both the scientific perspective as well as the spiritual perspective. And if you completely think that global warming is a hoax or it's not real, you're probably at the wrong video. So I'll put that out there right now. To me, that's denial, and we don't entertain that there. But that said, the origins or what's behind global warming and climate change is totally a debatable topic. And in this live stream, I'll look at the comments. I'll entertain questions or whatever. The information that I have is pretty straightforward. It won't take me that long. The only thing that I ask is no rude comments, please. No calling somebody else an idiot because you have a different opinion or a different take of what's going on. So if we can be respectful, on this channel, we're a community. I have no problem with people not agreeing with me. And what I'm presenting here are my opinions. And I was a meteorology student. I graduated in 1980 with a BA. I still don't know why it was not a Bachelor of Science. It's a Bachelor of Art in Meteorology. And one of the things that I studied in depth in the 1970s was climate change. So I have some insights that way, but I've also been getting messages from the master teachers, from my guides that work with me about what's behind it. Yeah, and again, it's my opinion, even channeled information. It's subject to the interpretation of the channeler, in this case, me. I got this all in one night. I wish I'd written it down and I had it like notes, but I pretty much remember what they said. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward. So, um, that's basically that. So let me just say a few quick hellos, and we'll really dive right into it. And I see there's some nice questions already coming in, or some nice comments. Hi, Claire and beautiful Starseed, welcome. And if you guys like this, hit the like button. You remind me, Claire, because sometimes you tell people that. So hi, Doreen of Children's School of Yoga, and Laura B, and hello, Jennifer, and apparently you were in a dream, Doreen. That's kind of cool. Hi, JA. Greetings from North Florida, and hi, Yvonne. And my transmission was in your dreams last night. Wow, that's pretty cool. So 2 nights ago we did a transmission here, and my ring light went out. Like I stopped the transmission. You could go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. The lights went right out, and it hasn't been the same since. So it may go out tonight. It's been flickering, and everything that has a wire malfunctions sooner or later. I can't tell you how many times I've had to replace devices. It's almost funny in a way, but all right. So hi, Joe, and hi, Lisa MR40. Welcome. Hello. Let me grab a little bit of water, and I'm going to dive right on into this. I'm going to start out with the science, and I'm going to go with the messages that the master teachers have given to me about this. So, basically, so I have notes here. And I kind of scribbled them down, but so let me just read these for a second, and I'll be right with you. Okay. Firstly, climatology, meteorology totally supports the notion that the climate's changing. And I remember studying global warming. I first heard about it in the late 60s. I was like, God, I mean, I turned 10 in 1968, so I was pretty young. And I remember that in my 69, 70, there's a big article in the New York Times. I just read it, I reread it, I read it. Then I started to look at models and what's happened. Those models have, not perfectly, but they pretty much panned out. And one of the things that I'll mention now that stuck out in my mind was, as the world was warming, one of the prominent models showed the northeast of the United States cooling as the rest of the world was warming. That always stuck up in my mind. Now, that's the models. The reality is the northeast has been warming also, but not nearly as much as the rest of the world. and people in the Northeast could be lulled into a false sense of security. But understand, the United States comprises 2% of the globe. And if you consider that we're 70% water, that it's only about 5-6% of the land masses. And some areas haven't gotten warmer, but other areas really have. And the other thing that's been striking me is the changes in the weather patterns, and how, say back in the 70s, even the early 80s, in order to get like hot weather here in the Northeast, like in the 90s for day in and day out, we need a very prominent weather pattern to cause that, and now we don't need that anymore. It's like it's not the classic Bermuda high that causes heat in the Northeast. It's all changed basically. So the models are really panning out. Basically, if you're adding carbon dioxide and methane to the atmosphere, it's a pretty direct, it's chemistry 101, it's a pretty direct relationship. As that goes up, greenhouses go up, obviously it's going to get warmer. And they had a good 50 years to figure it out, so we wouldn't get to this point where it's like OMG basically, and that it's terribly politicized, as you know, and used by the powers that be for control and manipulation, which may be why they didn't make changes. And yeah, curtailing burning fossil fuels, really good idea. The oil companies would have had time to switch their investments over to other energy sources. That's really the deforestation, to me anyway, is the number one thing. Trees produce oxygen. Trees take in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. That's why when you burn wood, you get carbon. So not that hard to understand, right? You burn wood and it turns black. That's the carbon. So it takes in the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and it gives us back oxygen. So we're upsetting that balance. There's more CO2. The Earth's getting warmer. So let me see, what else do we write? Climate change is a combination. Yeah, it's a combination of forces. There are natural cycles. It's not all a man-made phenomena. We're actually, I believe we're starting to be in a cooling cycle, even though 2023 is likely to be the hottest year on record, at least according to the weather data that we get. Deforestation, greenhouse gases. Okay. And the thing that really bothers me. So anyway, a little bit about the meteorology and the science. So there's some science to back it up. It's not just fake news. I studied meteorology. I've been in the field. I'm pretty confident of what I'm saying. That said, it's been exploited. I understand that, even weaponized to some degree. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Through things like weather modification, all that stuff. The government, partially admits it, the geoengineering projects, the HAARP, all that stuff. It's not fully disclosed, but there's at least some acknowledgement of that. And as always, there's going to be an agenda to control and centralize things. Like anything else that's going on in the world, understand, and I know people that are here on the channel and follow me on the channel do understand this, that basically, follow the money, follow the corrupt flow of power, and you'll have a pretty good idea what's going on, a good general idea anyways. So there is a plan behind that. So moving on to page 2. So this is what was coming through from the master teacher. Let me just peek on we're messing with Earth frequencies. Yeah, there's a lot more. I'm oversimplifying, Pauline. Yeah, I'll flash this just to and thank you. Yeah, I have real interest in Hawaii. I'm more like connected to the Big Island. Yeah, I mean, I always have since a child. But Maui, oh my goodness, yes. And Lisa MR is saying, as a child of 70 PA, we got so much snow. Now we don't get our. Yeah, like I said, the causes behind global warming, definitely a debatable topic. The fact, that it's happening, and, I've gotten in debates with people that it's fake news. It's the I didn't mention in the beginning, but I wanted to, the very beginning, mention that people on the far left and the far right, I mean, each side does carry an element of truth, in my opinion, but they're both wrong, in my opinion, also. And I'll get to that in a second. But what prompted me to say that? One of your comments did. Oh wow. That's good news. Yeah. That's very divine that tree survived. So, what else? There's something else I wanted to say. A little bit, something else about the background information. Yeah. Like I said, the causes are debatable, but I got it was somebody that was very right wing, and you know, uh, somebody on YouTube. I won't mention any names. I don't know if that person's on anymore, honestly. Uh, I'm trying to say, my parents had a beach home at Fire Island off of Long Island. They've had to move the houses back twice because of the rising sea levels. I mean, it's like, look, just observe, look what's going on around you, and don't be in denial. Basically, denial's not helping anything. Now, if we can uncover the truth, that there's a dirty plot, or if there's an agenda behind that, and they're purposely harming people, and purposely making the planet hotter, we're not going to solve that problem if we're denying it, right? So I'm not saying that that's the case, but that's certainly a theory that's debatable. So anyway, from the master teacher, this one I have to read. Okay, they were saying it's true that weather is no longer natural, and I hear that a lot, and people say that a lot. But however, it's not completely artificial either, and they wanted to make that point clear, that there are forces that act upon our weather that meteorologists do not yet understand, which to me well, that's one of two reasons why weather forecasters sometimes get it wrong. Reason number one is they're taking measurements at grids, and they have no idea what's happening in between those grids, even if they're a mile or two apart. They're taking measurements in grids, feeding them into computers, spitting out computer forecasts, making and observing satellites and forecasting the weather. And I'll tell you, it's, and I know this, that that there could be an event that's like about to happen, like within an hour or two, and it's wrong, that they get it wrong. Like even the nowcasting, forecasting the weather is happening, it's not always right, and it's not the meteorologist's fault. They're very trained. The equipment is very sophisticated, but it's just not adequate. What they need to develop is something that's more of like a like a light scanner that can actually and I have a feeling they have these, and in the next 10 or 20 years, through the satellites, that can really scan the thermal, scan the activity, not just a grid point, but in the whole atmosphere, because it's all fluid, basically. So what they were saying, though, the second reason is there's forces, there's wave action that that affects the planet, that affects the weather patterns. And that's what the powers that be understand. And that's how they're influencing the weather, according to the master teachers, or my interpretation of that. So, in other words, there's something called gravity waves that are somewhat understood. It's just when you look at a certain type of cloud that have those beautiful waves in it, those are gravity waves. And then there's, I forgot the name of it, but there's an oscillation of energy that circles the world from east to west, and they can now use that to predict when, during the hurricane season in the Atlantic, when it's likely to be higher activity, when it's not. So they understand something, but there's frequencies they just can't measure, that act upon the earth, that act upon the weather systems. But the powers that be do understand some of that, and they use that. So they can, but they were emphasizing they cannot control the local weather and or micrometeorology. Only the forces, only the broader forces that create that drive the large scale weather systems. But what happens in between, they're not really controlling that, and that's where we can come in. So therefore, through intention, we can modify local conditions, because again, um, they can't control what's happening in my backyard. Only the broad effects that are affecting that. And I remember, with the Native Americans, and I quoted this before, and apparently Greg Braden and others have had similar experiences with the Native American. But what they say is, we when we pray for rain, it always rains. When we do rain dances, it always rains. But we're not asking the Creator to make it rain, because then we're just reinforcing the lack of rain. What's that? Law of Attraction 101, right? Instead, we give thanks to the Creator. We feel the rain hitting our skin. We feel the rain hitting the trees. We feel the crops growing, and we thank the Creator for the rain that's already happening. So through intention, we can modify our local conditions. And if we work together, we can counter some of this weather control. So as we awaken and come into our power, we can start to counter what's going on. And again, the powers that be, they want to control things. They want to centralize things. They want to, for the benefit of the few at the detriment of the great many. Same old story, right? So they can weaponize weather. They can do whatever they want. They can create floods. They can, enhance storms. They can do all of this kind of stuff. I mean, they were doing geoengineering, I think, in the 50s, certainly in the 60s. So it's nothing new. So everything about weather. So they were saying everything about weather is an extension of consciousness, or in other words, as a collective, we create our own weather. And it's really the earth that creates the weather. The earth's a conscious being, and we're her children, and we're one with the earth. And when we start to awaken and we start to feel the energy to the earth and reconnect, we understand that we are vibrationally connected to the earth. And the earth and the weather influences us, it nurtures us, obviously, and the vice versa is true. And part of the consciousness of the earth is she wants to support her children. We're her children. It's like you want your child to be fed, you want them to be clothed, you want them to be comfortable. You don't want them to be, out in raging storms and having to move every other year because there's a massive flood. I mean, yeah, floods have to happen, things have to happen. It's all part of the process, but the earth is conscious, and the earth, with our collective consciousness, the earth consciousness is seeking to create weather conditions that'll give us food, that'll give us water, that'll keep us safe. And as a result, extreme weather is going to happen sometime. Why does extreme weather happen? Because sometimes the earth needs a little bit of a purge. It's not just the humans, sometimes it's animals, sometimes it's bacteria or viruses. We even say, oh my God, that flood is terrible. Why was there a hurricane? God isn't real because so many people wouldn't have died. But no, the hurricanes and the severe storms, they may be clearing a dangerous virus from setting hold. And from a more of a meteorological or scientific aspect, because the earth has uneven heating and it rotates, it creates flows, wind flows, wind currents around. And the big storms that evolve in the tropic take some of that heat from the tropics, so the tropics don't overheat, and brings it up to the temperate climates and the northern climates so they won't freeze. There's a divine purpose to storms and to so-called bad weather. And the earth understands this. So as a consciousness, as we're connected to the earth, we're creating weather. Now, as we disconnect from the earth and we forget who we are and forget that we're one with Mother Earth, basically, that's when weather calamities increase. That's when weather gets more erratic, because we've disconnected. And that's the result. We become out of balance, and therefore the earth becomes out of balance. And the earth tries to rebalance it, and that's why weather gets more extreme. So again, from a more of a tangible perspective, if we're cutting all the trees down and polluting the air, then it's going to create imbalance. Now, climate change is not the only game in town. There's other forms of pollution. There's the problems with plastic. So there's a reason why more focus is given on one potential economic disaster over another, but they're actually equal. So, again, we have to broaden our perspective a little bit. So anyway, everything about weather is an extension of consciousness, or in other words, as a collective, we created. The earth is conscious. Ideally, it's programmed to support. I'm just reading my notes, but that's a little redundant because I already said all this stuff. All right. So if we understand the purpose of weather, as well as the fact it's energy, then we can modify through our own consciousness. And if we work together as a group, we can modify as our own group. And I do this. I do weather modification. I know a lot of you do too. It doesn't make me more spiritual, more special, or any better than any of you or anybody else out there that's walking the earth. We just have that ability. I've learned how to still my mind. I've learned how to blend with nature. And then I've learned how to influence the flows as the flows influence me. And I've had, I've gone out, I've had people with me, watch me work, watch the clouds billow up, felt the winds increase, all that stuff. And we had that ability. We absolutely had that ability. I mean, if that happened once, I'd be like, oh, that was nice. But if it happens virtually every time, there's something more to it. So it's fluid. There's no separation between ourselves, the weather, and the atmosphere. That's really the message they wanted to give us. And to understand that yes, that there is forces that be that are influencing the weather in a negative way, but it's also an aspect of collective consciousness. So as we awaken, we're going to be able to overthrow these forces. A lot of this is going to rise to the surface. A lot of what's going on behind the scenes is going to be known. It may be sooner than later. It all depends on us. It all depends on what's going on. So soon as our species evolve, we'll both through technology and consciousness be able to influence weather to better support life. But as long as humans remain primitive and warlike, they will use the technology as well as the mind science to control populations through weather manipulation for their own selfish gain. So yes, so that came through also. So the solution to this and all your world problems will be solved by simply awakening and evolving, basically. So it always is going to come back to the same message, basically. And that's really basically all that I had to say about that. Yeah, pretty straightforward. And then again, it's my take, it's my opinion, but we're not helpless, and we can't just throw in the towel because there's greater forces than us as individuals that are controlling our weather, because they're saying they can't fully do that. They can only influence the forces that control the weather, not the weather itself. So that's important to understand that. So basically, let me see what you guys are saying before I end. So Cosmic Alchemic Center is saying, so true. This morning I was walking outside and thinking that may rain in Hawaii. That's an excellent intention. If we put our minds together and try to bring the rains to Maui to put these terrible fires out, that'd be good. We might as well hit up Canada also while we're at it. And then the rain dropped on my head. Wow, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And Pauline saying that we need to appreciate exactly. We need to appreciate the earth, not dump on her, basically. I mean, if we kept like dumping on our own mother, I mean, she'll still support us, but she's going to get a resentment, right? The earth's no different. I mean, come on. Our emotions affect weather. Thank you. Absolutely. So in peace, or thank you. And then also from Pauline, Galactic Center assists Earth. Yeah, I do believe that we have help. They explain why they're able to intervene on our behalf, because there have been violations of treaties. I won't go into all of that kind of woo-woo, new Earth kind of stuff with you guys, although I love woo-woo and new Earth stuff, but I won't go into that right now. And also Jody saying that HAARP has been around for a long time. And we're reiterating weather is being artificially manipulated by the MIC. So thank you for that also. And it's galactics are rising. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Pauline, you're lighting up the comment stream here. Yes, we at Whole Planet Healing are with Elohim and Ra and dimensional beings and various light workers that attend at 10 p.m. at a facility in Sedona. There's a lot of light workers that are working to help us, basically. There's a lot of extraterrestrial or interdimensional intelligence that's working to help us. This is all part of the awakening. That was the other point. If I kind of glossed over it, it's all part of our awakening. Even though people are suffering, it's very sad. I have a lot of compassion. I'm very empathic, so I feel this, but I gain comfort by knowing, a couple things. One, this has to happen just because that's what it's going to take for us to evolve. And two, as a medium, the ones that had the really painful cancer and all that come through, they're like, hey, I'm fine. It's like I got to the other side, and it's like the pain never even happened. It was never even real in the first place. I just woke up from a dream. And I know that's no comfort for people that are suffering right now, with floods, fires, and all the rest of it. But anyhow, so what else? You guys saying it doesn't take a scientist to see the. No, yeah, just open your eyes, right? Just open your eyes. So let me see. Hi, all right, and weather warfare. Thank you, Susan, for chiming in. Will be ending soon. Yeah, and that's what they're saying. Well, weather can and is being used to weaponize. Absolutely, yeah. And Bill Dale, thanks for showing up, Big Brother. Not Big Brother. That has a negative connotation. Older brother, as above, so below. From another mother. I met another one of my brothers yesterday from another mother who I haven't seen in almost 40 years. That lives in Arizona. You talk about global warming. Phoenix, Arizona, for the entire month of July, never saw a high temperature under 110. I mean, Phoenix is hot, but come on. And she said only one rainy day so far, and they're in the harder monsoon season right now. Snow in northern Italy in August. Very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Hearts crying for Maui. Mine too. Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, I didn't want to. I wanted to make this a little bit quicker today and give you my perspective because we're part of a community. I'm kind of just in this microsecond moment of time. I'm sort of taking the lead and facilitating, and this is an important issue. Now, you guys that didn't know where I stand on this issues do, and again, I'm basing this on my meteorology science as well as the messages, and I feel, I mean, of course I feel like it's accurate, and I guess a lot of you guys do too. And here might be a question. I would like to understand how so many people don't notice all the chemtrails or just think these are normal, have always been there. Yeah, yeah, that's a little bit of a slippery slope also, only because and for really good intending people, I see plenty of photos of just normal contrails that they say these are chemtrails, and that kind of sort of in a way diminishes the whole movement in a way. And contrails can form those lattice patterns because the air traffic controllers have specific direct flight patterns that these airplanes follow. But that said, chemtrails are definitely real. And one day it was Christmas morning. I guess they thought I wouldn't see this. And I was living, down in Kerhonkson at the time. I was outside just enjoying nature, enjoying Mother Nature. It was a sunny Christmas morning, not too cold. And then I'm watching these planes. The chemtrail planes are usually lower than the jets, by the way, with the contrail, and the smoke is different. It's usually gray or it's a little bit off color. So I'm watching these planes, flying, doing the crisscross pattern, and within 10 minutes, an entire clear sky was overcast. And I was like, OMG. I was like, what are they doing? They trying to stop global warming through chemtrailing, and unfortunately, a lot of people are sensitive to the aluminum and the other chemicals because if you spray chemicals into the atmosphere, it's going to trickle down to Earth. It's going to get into the soil. It's going to get into the water. It's going to get into us. And I totally agree with you. So I think it was J.A. whoever left that comment. Don't take this as my way of rebutting what you're saying. It's absolutely true. I just want people to be really clear that sometimes some of these photos that I see, I know that they're not really chemtrails. And sometimes somebody posted, and this is somebody that's very spiritual too, like this whole thing over New Jersey, and they did all these circular contrails. He said, look at all these chemtrails. They're in circles. They're over New Jersey. And I just went back to her and said, look, darling, this is what you're seeing is a holding pattern over Newark Airport. And for some reason, conditions in the lower atmosphere are conducive to producing these contrails, condensation trails that you usually only see higher up in the atmosphere. So yeah, and I'm a medium, right? I totally believe in spirit. I totally believe in signs. And I tell people, if you see your lampshade rattling, make sure your window's closed before you assume it's a spirit. But once you understand that and you know the difference, then yeah, there is a lot of chemtrailing. They do a lot of that in my area also, by the way. Well, I haven't seen a lot of it recently. In April and May, I was seeing a lot of it though. So yeah. And what's Jennifer saying? Um, not not all vapor trails, condensation trails fade out. Some of them can stay in the sky a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I remember even in the 60s and 70s, they may have been chemtrailing then also, honestly. And then what else is Jennifer saying? I would think the difference would be in staying in power, but I really in the staying power. Yeah, yeah. See a lot in Chicago. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I mean they're all over the world. You see. I mean there are real photos out there, and they're pretty obvious. It's kind of like like I was saying, so there's specific flight patterns and stuff, and they can look like crosses, but not the whole freaking sky. When you see that in the whole sky, you pretty much know that's not contrails in one section of it, sure. And usually it's only in one direction. It's kind of rare when they crisscross immediately. But I just want us all to be honest because again, if we're mistaking things, the naysayers are going to be, look at these fools. They believe this, and it's just regular contrails. We don't want to be those people. We want to be the enlightened stewards and teachers and ascended masters in our own right of our planet and of our lives. Some ships hide behind clouds. Yeah, that could be a topic for another live stream because the ETs they're out there. Yeah, they're definitely there, and there's ways. I have a couple videos on this, but there's ways of um of seeing them with your spiritual eyes as well as your physical eye, but they'll absolutely hide around clouds. They'll absolutely hide in clouds. Sometimes they hide it in reservoirs because of a very level-headed friend of mine watched a UFO just rise out of the Ashokan Reservoir one day, late at night when she was driving past it. um so that's a whole other topic, but yeah, they're making their presence known more and more. And of course, the governments, they want to keep us running down the wrong rabbit holes, or say, oh yeah, we're emitting their UFOs, and then kind of leading us in the wrong direction with that. But they're here. Thanks for bringing that up. Philadelphia experiment. Philadelphia experiment. Temporal displacement. I mentioned that in my live stream, not by name, but use that as an example. And by the way, if you missed what I did, it had the thumbnail breaking news, and I talked about what the master teachers were telling me would be three of the biggest news stories going forward, the biggest exposures. So I have that. So why was I talking about that? Um, Something that they were saying, the Philadelphia experiment, and this wasn't in this live stream, something that they came to in another channeling. But they're basically saying one of the reasons that they've been able to intervene in certain areas is there's a breach of a treaty on on um on the timelines on temporal tampering, or I forgot the words that they used, altering the timelines, and then they were allowed to intervene, on that our behalf. Yeah, there's other things. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So 812 is the Montauk Project. That's interesting. Yeah. Um, so on the topic, yeah, my son's mom, she comes onto the live stream sometimes. Yeah, she was on, in central Long Island during that time, and she's saying she couldn't understand during that time why everybody seemed like zombies, and there were days that it was just quiet, nobody was out or whatever. And part of the Montauk Project is they were using frequencies to program people and to hypnotize people. Now imagine that was like in the 70s. Imagine today with the technology we have. That's why we have to stay in our heart. You can't be programmed in the heart. I mean, sure, the frequencies may affect you. We are receptive that way, but the more in your heart you are, hearts cannot be programmed. And so remember that also. All right, all right. All right. So we're writing, closing out the Lionsgate portal. We did a very powerful transmission on 8/8. I'll link all the stuff on the comments that's pertinent and relevant to that. Thank you guys. I see we're at 33 right now. And yeah, I'll definitely direct your attention to the live stream about the three biggest news stories. It's like I had I don't know, like 110 people come on live for that one. So people are really interested in that. Anyway, much gratitude to all of you for being here, and onward and upward. It's just going to get better. Stay in your heart, stay in your power, stay connected as community. It's likely to get dicey, but it's all energy, it's all frequency. So we have the power to modify some of these predictions, and we've already done that. Again, we don't all have, a lot of us that got vaccinated anyway. We don't all have vaccine passports to travel. It was forecast by some very top-notch astrologers and psychics. They weren't wrong. Through consciousness, we've been able to modify that. So there's still issues with vaccine status, but not nearly what was forecast. Same with the food shortages. There have been food shortages. There have been supply shortages, but not to the point, at least in my more affluent Hudson Valley location, that hadn't been that noticeable for a while. Some of the shelves were half empty, and I think later on this year and into next year, we may be facing another possible issue where things get where food or supplies get short. So don't let your guard down quite yet. Stay prepared. Still, we're still in this war zone. We're still in battle until it really shifts, until that 100th monkey is reached, and then everybody starts to awaken. By the way, on that note, this 8-day portal was so powerful. The whole Lionsgate portal, and the way the master teachers came through and explained it to me is like this year in particular, because the Lionsgate is every year. It's based on astrology, moving to planets as well as numerology. So it happens every year. But they're saying this year was, it was so strong. There was lifting the veil from humanity. It's kind of the way they brought that to me. It's kind of like taking the blinders off the eyes so that people start to see what's really going on. And as a result, there's going to be a lot of people freaking out. There's going to be people literally going crazy. So stay in your own lane. Stay in your heart. That is the eye of the storm. But a lot of people are going to be awakening in the next few months. There's going to be a lot of new awakening people. So if you know anybody and you trust what we do here, direct them here. That's why this channel is here, because they told me New Year's Eve 2019 to start a channel, making the focus on spiritual awakening, so that the people that start to awaken will have a safe and authentic place to go to, because there's spiritual warfare out there. They're attacking spirituality. So there's a lot of phonies, is that the right word? Or people that are purposely misleading others, down the wrong rabbit holes. And the people that are authentic, like myself, really have to stay guarded and keep our power and our protection around us, because of that. But anyways, that's what I have to say. So I know I'm just kind of lingering on and on now. Yes, we are doing tarot time this Saturday. I'm leaving for Lilydale after tarot time. We're doing a channel shutdown. I mean, if I feel super inspired, I may do a short video here or there from Lilydale, but we're not doing the morning daily forecasts. This week I'm suspending that. I'm gonna try to do New Moon with Heather on the 16th, if I can find a spot at Lilydale to do that. That has a good Wi-Fi that's private, and then the channel will reopen again next tarot time, a week from Sunday. I'll be back doing tarot time, and then we're gonna resume Thursday uploads after Labor Day. So we did an upload today. It's a very powerful healing and clearing meditation with the master teachers. Recommend that we do that. It's designed to clear like lifetimes of stuck energy, karma and ancestral and genetic, pain and all that stuff. And I worked with it a couple of times, and it really felt very powerful to me. So that's up on the channel. You guys can check that out next if you want. Always protect your brother. Full circle. Always, yes. And and sometimes, just as a closing thought, don't overuse the word protection, or don't overprotect yourself, because you're putting the energy out there to the universe that I'm vulnerable. What you want to do is feel like I'm already protected. God, spirit, whatever you call it, already protects me. Just augment that natural protection that we all have. Thanks, brother, for bringing that up. Huda's another brother from another mother. We have a lot of them, and sisters too. All right. We are closing. Good night. Love you.